Alright, how's everybody doing? So this is a video I'm doing on Sage and Sorc's force management when you're healing, primarily PvP and primarily in raids, honestly. And this is for the website healingswtotor.com. So I have all my healing classes up and I raid with all of them in right now currently nightmare stuff. But I haven't really had a lot of practice with my Sorc as of late, though he was my primary healer up to the patch 2.0 SWTOR. But I got a chance to put a lot of time in with him in the Nightmare Dread Fortress, which is videos you're going to see here for this kind of sort of guide to force management. All these videos were taken just recently, this past week or so, and I hadn't been on my Sage Sorc in a really long time, so I was kind of rusty early on. But I did want to get into a little bit of the force management stuff and just some quick tips for you guys to think about. Obviously, this isn't an extensive guide, and this isn't meant for people who have been clearing Nightmare stuff forever. This is more of a kind of middle level guide for people who are having some issues with the Sorc Sage class force management, which can be tough, and maybe just need a couple pointers to kind of push them over the edge. Obviously, any comments, any feedback, any suggestions, anything you can do to help other healers is always appreciated. You can leave the comments here on Facebook, on YouTube, or on the website. So let's get to it. So the reason why Sage and Sorc healing is somewhat of a challenge, at least the part of it that is kind of challenging, is the resource management. There's a couple things that make the Sage and the Sorc unique when it comes to healing from the other healing classes. The main one being that Sorcs and Sages have to hurt themselves to get their resource back. It's the only healing class in the game that has to hurt themselves. It has to take health points from their own tune to get back management. The second thing is there is no massive cooldown that gives you your resource back. So if you're operative, which I run a lot of with my operative and scoundrel, you hit your probe and you get your adrenaline probe or whatever it is on the other side, and you get a lot of your energy back. If you're a Mando or a Merc healer, you can do a heat dump on heat vent on the Merc side, and on the Mando side, whatever it is, does the same thing, gives you your resource back, or a lot of it at least. And that's kind of a big cooldown where you can kind of go ham and go burst for a while and then just get it back, at least get it back enough to where you don't really lose a lot of healing time. Now obviously it's on a cooldown, so you have to manage it, the rest of the way through till it comes off a cooldown, but that's still a really big thing. Sages and Sorcs don't have that. We get our force back little by little, and we get it back sometimes too slowly for a fight. So the best way is to proactively manage your force. That's just the only way really to make sure that you're always going to have force the whole fight. You have to do what you'll hear a lot of people call a consumption rotation for the Sorcs, and basically a noble sacrifice rotation for the Sages. And I'm just going to focus on that. The best way to manage your force is to, whenever possible, it's possible for you to do it, is to manage your stacks. To manage your stacks of Force Surge on your Sorc and to manage your stacks of Resplendence on your Sage. That is the best way to do it, and you have to do it the whole fight. There are times where you can go bursty, and that's fine. So there are times where you have to go bursty, and that's fine. But you have to be able to manage your stuff. So the best way to do it is to use Innervate. So what you'll see me do a lot in these videos is you'll see me use Innervate or Healing Trance for the Sage to proc Force Surge or Resplendence. That's a big thing. So you get 3 stacks of it, your AoE becomes an instant. And sometimes it's okay to use that. If you get 2 stacks, it speeds it up. If you get 1 stack, it speeds up your AoE. The key thing, the main thing, the really only thing to managing force the best way possible is to use your stacks of Force Surge or Resplendence, depending on where you are, to get your force back. Meaning, if I use Innervate and I get my 2 or 3 stacks, it crits a couple times and I get my 2 or 3 stacks of Force Surge, I'm going to use as many stacks as I need to consume to get force back, and it minimizes the amount of damage it does for me or something. I forgot what it is, but you need consumption to get your force back in a more impactful way, in a better way. On the Sage, obviously you're going to use Resplendence, the stacks of Resplendence and Noble Sacrifice to get your force back, and it's just a cycle of that. What force management becomes is a cycle of working in Healing Trance and Innervate to get Force Surge and get Resplendence, and then to use those stacks almost exclusively for your force, to get force back. And it's okay to hurt yourself. You have to sometimes trust the other healer. There are times where you're going to have to burst. And this fight here at the end of Drax's, it's a burst fight, and there's times you're going to have no force, and that's okay. When you have no force because you have to burst, the best way to get that back is to use your rejuvenate, use your resurgence to proc force bending into proc conveyance, and to use innervate and healing trance. The reason why innervate and healing trance is such an important part of the Sage or Sorc rotation is that it heals while it ticks, while it casts. That's majorly important, especially when you're low on force. So you don't want to use your low force, you don't want to do a big cast or the minimum cast because you're not doing any healing while you're low on force. So if you're low on force, you want to do the innervate or the healing trance because that again heals while it casts, which is amazing when you're low on force, gives you back force surge and resplendence that you can then consume or noble sacrifice to get your force back. That is the obvious big secret to managing force. It's not terribly complicated in theory. The hard part is managing it. The hard part is staying strict to it. There are going to be times when you're going to want to use an instant AoE just because it's there. Don't do it. Now, I'm not saying there aren't times to use it. In this part of the video here, you see I use it a couple of times because it's towards the end of the fight. The boss is almost dead, and you use it immediately because it's there and you're trying to get through the last bit of the fight. During burst phases, by all means, use it. But the rest of the fight, use your force surge, use your resplendence to consume a noble sacrifice to get your force back. That is the key to managing force. You will immediately notice your force getting a little better. In management, you'll notice more of it when you need it. You'll notice you don't needlessly consume or noble sacrifice. One key sign if you're doing it wrong is if on your Sorc you routinely get stacks of consumption, you routinely get stacks of noble sacrifice, meaning that you get that one number or two number with that little icon of noble sacrifice or consumption. That means you're doing it wrong. That means you're needlessly hurting yourself and not managing your force the right way, and it's kind of just hurts you in the long run. Again, for the sake of repetition, healing trance, resplendent stacks, noble sacrifice, force comes back. You do that the entire fight, and you'll see that in these videos. I just constantly do it whenever possible when I don't need the speedier AoE. And honestly, there aren't many times when you do it. During the regular phase of a fight, there's really no big payoff to casting your AoE faster if you're not bursting, if you're not coming up on a high damage fight. If it's just a normal part of a fight, just do your AoE the way you normally would. Use Resurgence, use Rejuvenate to proc force bending. Use Resurgence to proc your next heal, and Rejuvenate procs your next heal. And that gives you a better way to get off your AoE, and that gives you a better way to do things that you need to do. But you don't want to just waste stacks of your force surge or your resplendence for the sake of getting AoE out faster. You're wasting both force and heals that you just don't need. You got another healer. Use your other healer to help you heal. So that's the big piece of advice I can give you when it comes to managing force. Don't feel the need to do it. Don't feel the need to do it without having all your procs and have all your stacks ready. Have your stacks ready. Use it smartly, be calm about it, be smart about it, and you're going to see your force management become so much better. So that's it. It's not a big secret. Healing trance, innervate, resplendence, force surge stacks to consume and to noble sacrifice and to get your force back that way. Do it the whole fight. Do it as often as you can, and you'll notice immediately a better amount of force management. I'll write more about it on the blog, healingswtor.com. I hope this helps you in some way. If you have something else that I hadn't thought of, do it. Post it. Message it. Tell me about it. And I'll get it out to the people. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for watching this video. Sorry it's so long. But take care. See ya.
Doctor.